Break the recording. Realize that you have to promote your attendance to your panelists. So, started here in just a few minutes. Got to manually do each one, so thought I'd come on a few minutes early. Bruno, how are you? How's the weather over in Switzerland? You go on any big hikes recently?
Unfortunately, the weather is not so nice in the last few weeks, so I was not so often hiking as I wished. I was more at home than going to hike, but it looks like next week will be better. And then I will be in the mountains.
How often do you go out there hiking? And there's a reason I'm asking you for this, because you obviously love it.
Usually during summertime, 2 to 3 times a week. It depends. During the week, I go alone because my wife is still working. And so it depends what we do on the weekend. Then we go also on the weekend for a one-day hiking. Yeah.
Beautiful. Today we're going to be talking about doing the things that you love, and
yes,
hiking is obviously something that you love. Is this something that you've always loved?
Yes, definitely. Hiking and skiing.
Nice. Hiking and skiing. Beautiful. Yes. Okay, we've got loads of people coming in here now. Beautiful. So if you're just joining us and you can hear me, the reason I'm promoting you to panelists, if you've seen that, is that way you can share your screen and your audio, and you can turn on your camera. You can feel free to decline it if you are not interested in that, but I'm just going to go ahead and turn it on one by one for everyone. Also, after I finish the Akio, love to see the beautiful smile. Welcome. Once I get through the initial presentation part, hi Pat, how are you? So good to see you. Monica, welcome. Zoran, welcome. Jeremy, welcome. Carol, Dylan, Felicity, Judy, Cameron. AI, how do you pronounce your name? I'm going to turn you guys on to allowed to talk. Howie.
Howie.
Howie. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad I asked. Beautiful, beautiful. We'll get started here in just a minute. So, a little bit of housekeeping while we're getting started, while folks are still joining. I'll do, same as last week, a little presentation for you, 20 to 30 minutes max. We're trying to keep them tight to like that 20 minutes. My goal is for these to be an hour. It's compact, in and out, get you guys back to your lives so you can go out there and create, so you can spread your love, and you can do what you're called to do, including time with your family. Really appreciate you being here. I know it's a big ask once a week for an hour of your time. So I want you to know I don't take that lightly, and truly, genuinely grateful that you guys are here. Yeah, it's really, really cool. So that said, click the raise hand button if you would like to come out, and I would highly encourage you to. I mean, really, the value of this webinar every week is going to be determined on how many transformations and how many breakthroughs and how much progress I can help you guys make. So this isn't just a one-way thing where I'm here to teach you. This is collaborative. We're doing this together. And even though, yes, I'm teaching you this powerful technique of cybernetic transposition, I'm teaching you how to do what I've mastered for myself, I want this weekly call to be as interactive as humanly possible. So please, please, do not be shy. Shyness is an old program. That's an old program. That's an old identity that says, don't put your hand up, because what if you say something that makes you look not so smart, or makes you look like you don't know what you're doing? Or what if you ask a dumb question and you should already know the answer to it? I remember being a little kid in Sunday school. I was maybe 9 or 10 years old. And after the in our Sunday school in this religious commune where I grew up, I mean, it was hardcore. It was like going to like a proper sermon. It was like a 45-minute lecture teaching, preaching from the Sunday school teacher. And I was just this little kid who just wanted to be out in the playground. My mind would drift, and I couldn't make any sense of what the heck they were talking about. And I remember this one particular Sunday. Gosh, there's so many of you coming in. If you're just coming in, you'll notice I'm promoting you to be panelists. That's so you can share your camera. You can also share your screen if you choose to in the second half of the workshop. You can feel free to decline it. If you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. But I would highly recommend you, not mandatory. Maybe one day it'll be mandatory, but it's highly recommended. Put your camera on. It was so weird last week not being able to read your faces and just felt like I was speaking into a black hole. But we got through it. But it was definitely anxiety inducing for me. So let me just finish this little story about being a 9 or 10-year-old, because it's a setup for today's theme. I was ADHD, I guess you would say, like the clinical diagnoses. As a kid, just really, really hard time concentrating, focusing, following a storyline. It was really difficult for me. And even today, I kind of struggle with that. In fact, one day I'll talk about when I decided to become a film producer. That was because I wanted to be something that I really wasn't. There are very few movies that I can tell you what they're actually about. Like, it's really hard for me to follow storylines, especially if they're a little bit more mysterious or harder to follow. Like my kids are better at following stories than I am. It's crazy. So back to this kid sitting in Sunday school. It's a beautiful day out. I remember it like it was yesterday. Memories like this, and we all have them, right? They're imprinted in our unconscious because it's a memory that's tied to deep emotion. And in this particular emotion is embarrassment, shame, guilt, tied to that act of raising my hand. I remember this particular Sunday, I was able to kind of follow along. It was my Aunt Johanna is what her name was. Oh, Christoph is here. Christoph, welcome. Marjorie, welcome. So many of you here. It's so great to have you with me. And for the first time in my life, I could follow along the arc or the theme. I realized there's actually a theme to this lesson that she's trying to teach us here on this particular Sunday. And I was so excited. I raised my hand at the end of the sermon. I said, "Oh, I get it." And I was a little kid, so excited. I said, "Oh, I get it." So today's lesson was about ABC. And it was like, duh, where have you been? And all the kids in Sunday school, 20 other kids, burst out laughing. Crimson red, embarrassment. I wanted to crawl under the carpet. And to make matters worse, the Sunday school teacher, instead of like being kind or gentle and loving with this kid who obviously was excited to just have connected the dots and understood what that particular lesson was about, he lectured me and admonished me and embarrassed me in front of the, and I'm getting emotional just telling that story right now. It's crazy how life happens to us as human beings. Mm-hmm. Before we even realize what is going on, we are already running programs and putting meaning to stories and experiences, and rightfully so. And making things mean stuff. Like, don't put your hand up. You're going to embarrass yourself if you ask a dumb question. So, am I shy and introverted? I mean, that was an identity I had up until 10 years ago, less than 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Am I really a shy person? Is anybody born shy? Is anybody born afraid to put their hand up in Sunday school? Put their hand up in a Zoom meeting? Speak on stage? But this is why they say The fear of public speaking after the fear of death. It's like the number one fear. It's that fear of embarrassment. So to kind of start today, this is the framing. I posted a bunch of stories on Instagram here today. And speaking of Instagram, what I'd like each of you to do, this is a personal request. At some point during today's webinar, when you have a light bulb moment or a moment of inspiration or an aha, or there's something that I've said or shared that is of inspiration to you, when you take out your phone, take a picture of the screen, and I want you to share it. You're going to share it as a story or share it on Facebook. Share it. That might sound scary. That might sound like out of your comfort zone. Learn, do, share is going to be a common theme every single week. What we share is what we reinforce. And this is how we tear down and break down these old identities. So back to this particular experience where I'm oops. Now, if I asked you to unmute, just go ahead and mute yourself back up. So we can keep a nice clean line. Gosh, there's so many people joining here today. This is so cool. I'm so happy to have you all here. So every week, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. A light bulb moment, something of inspiration, and use the science behind that. When you're learning, you learn something new and you get that little feeling of inspiration. I'm going to use spiritual or God talk for just a second. That's God saying, like, look, that's something really, really inspiring. It's a high vibrational moment for you. The moment you share that, you reinforce that lesson for yourself. A. B, you're paying it forward. You're sharing your light out in the world. Now, sharing and shining your light out into the world, it's so cool that we all have social media now. You're blessing somebody else. You have no idea who in your circle will also find inspiration or value from that. And worst case scenario, what they'll see or observe is Pat is growing. She's changing. What is going on? And the act of Pat growing or Bruno growing or Garrett growing will be inspiring to them. Now, your subconscious, your old identity might say, well, but what are my friends going to think about me? That's another old pattern and an old script where we're afraid of what people think about us. Wow. And we're afraid of what people think about us. That causes us to dim our light. That causes us to, it's not a Bible verse, but there's an old Sunday song about putting your candle under a bushel. Let me just not shine too bright because I don't want people to think that I'm weird. My goal, my intention from my heart, for every one of you to become a raging fire. As you become the person that you needed most in your darkest days, you inspire the people around you to be the same. It is going to be lonely at first. It is going to be scary at first. It's going to feel uncomfortable at first. I'm just going to click through here, allow all you guys to talk. Again, if you're just joining us, I'm promoting you all to panelists. You can decline it if you want. If you're a panelist, you can turn on your camera, and I would encourage you to do so because I want to see your light. I want to see your shining faces because this is why I do what I do. I don't do this to hear myself talk. I don't do this to speak into a void. Last week was terrible. I had such anxiety around that. And I had this story running in my head. It was a horrible webinar until I started getting all the feedback from you guys. Like, wow, it was so powerful. And you started sharing it and you sent me text messages and emails. And then I had a chuckle and I thought to myself, you know what? I can trust myself. And I did it from a place of love. It was tough. Okay, so we are 13 minutes past. People are still joining, which is totally okay. So let's pick up where we left off last week. If you haven't already read the book by David Hawkins, Levels of Consciousness, I highly recommend that you get it. That book was my Bible earlier this year, and I can tell you for fact, I would not have got through the dark night of the soul from February through May if it wasn't for that book. You see, what that book taught me is that our body, our physical body, which includes the physical brain, the neocortex, the left and right hemispheres, the brain stem, which connects to our nervous system. Our nervous system connects to our heart. Science has also now proven that the heart has its own brain, connects to our gut, or all of the hormones, not the hormones, sorry, the neurochemicals like serotonin is created in your gut. So I would say your stomach, your gut is your oldest brain. Right? So a physical body, you need to think of it like a computer, a supercomputer. But it's conscious. But forget about the conscious part. Your physical body, your physical brain, your physical nervous system, and it's all. I went to this science exhibit one time in New York City and had human bodies where they'd cut away all the bones and all of the meat and all of the muscles and only the nerves. So the entire nervous systems, which matriculates all the way down to all your nerve endings, which come to your fingertips, your toes, all your nerve endings also come to your face as well. What are you going to read each other's expression? You look at it, if you look at a cadaver like that, and you look at the physical nervous system and think, wow, that's a biological computer, is what it is. And cybernetic transposition is what Stuart Lichtman, who was an AI researcher back in the 70s and 80s at MIT, they were studying reinforcement and repetition learning. So how can you train a computer to think like a human? And then what his book, which the CT 101 playbook was inspired by, his book, How to Get Lots of Money for Anything Fast, that he wrote, Joe Vitale wrote a beautiful introduction to it. He was my original mentor on this topic. And what he did is, after figuring out how to train a computer to think like a human, he's like, well, why can't we reverse engineer that and train our brains, retrain our brains and our nervous systems and our unconscious, the same way that a computer is trained with repetition learning and reinforcement learning. Brilliant concept. That's how this actually works. But the thing that makes us different as human beings is that we have this thing called emotions. So for a minute, I want to speak just about emotions. So emotions are something that are felt and augmented by our consciousness. So an animal, like a dog, which has a vibrational level of between 300 and 500, maybe 600 when it's like just had its toy, it's thinking in it out, it's peaceful. They're kind of trapped in that range, but they don't have emotions in the same way that we have emotions, because they don't attach stories to the experiences that they had in the past. So for example, the beautiful thing about a dog is if you step on its toe accidentally when it's a puppy, it doesn't make up this story that, oh, my daddy doesn't love me because he just hurt me. It yelps, shakes it off, and then it's gone. Well, as humans, we don't do that. When we experience something traumatic or scary or embarrassing or a moment of shame, like I just described, putting my hand up, when we experience that, we attach meaning to it because we have consciousness. We're self-aware. We attach meaning to what happened. Those meanings and those experiences get stored in our physical body, in our muscles, and in our nervous system. And most of it is stored at an unconscious level where we don't actually remember it. And this is why, for those of you that are going to be doing lifeline coaching with me, where we go back, there are going to be periods, chunks of time in your past where you just don't have any memories. It's just black. It's like you don't remember anything from the age of 4 to 9, maybe, or from the age of 11 to 16. Very, very common. And that's a survival mechanism. Our conscious minds, they'll just block out and temporarily forget what happened to us if it was bad. If it was a bad memory, we want to forget it. Forgive and forget. It's the forget part, but then it's less painful. all of our experiences that have happened, all of the experiences that we've had in our lives in a sequential order from the day we were born are added on top of each other. And when something happens multiple times, let's say, like proverbially, you got stepped on, not just once, but maybe 5 times, maybe 10 times, maybe 100 times by an abusive parent. Let's just say a teacher, or could be anything. Our conscious minds rationalizes that and packages that and says, well, this is the way it is. I'm not loved. It's not safe for me to speak up and raise my hand. When A happens and B is there, then C is definitely going to happen. And these are then identities or patterns. Identities are just patterns or beliefs that are rooted in emotion, and that emotion is stored. It gets stored in our body. And the older we get, these patterns and these beliefs, in computer terms, they're just scripts that run 24/7. And then in our conscious mind, which is only 10% of our brain, conscious mind is only 10% of our brain. We're trying to make sense of all of these feelings and emotions, trying to make sense of the circumstances in our lives that we find ourselves in our midlife, where we're like, why am I struggling with relationships? Why am I struggling with my health? Why am I struggling with money and my identity around money? Come on, why can't I figure this out once and for all? Well, it's kind of like if I was to go get my dad's old Tandy 1000 computer or his first Pentium 1 computer and be mad at it for having the old operating system, still having Windows 95 installed. So the operating system that you're running right now, and I'm not saying, because all of you guys are students of personal development and spirituality and growth. I mean, you've been working on yourselves for so long, but I want to give you a whole different approach, because taking this whack-a-mole approach, we're like, I'm going to focus on, talked about this 2 weeks ago, I'm going to focus on my health right now. I'm going to focus on an income goal right now. That's like playing whack-a-mole. You're not going to change any one part of your life in isolation, really, like at an identity level, just by isolating it and focusing on it individually. The only solution is to treat your nervous system and your body and all of your different areas of life holistically, and realize that the operating system, maybe it doesn't serve you anymore. And when you take this approach, you can release all the shame, all the guilt, all the remorse, all the shoulda, woulda, couldas, all the regret, all those low vibrational things that we feel when we look at ourselves and we feel inadequate. You can let that go, because it's actually not your fault. But it's not who you are. Yes, they are your feelings and emotions. Yes, of course they are, because they're yours. You're feeling them. They're not mine. They're yours. That's not actually who you are. Just like that Pentium running Windows 95, if I reinstall that operating system and get all the bugs and the viruses replaced with the Windows 96, I've now upgraded the operating system. I don't yell at the computer for having Windows 95. I don't blame the computer or shame it or make it feel guilty. Why do we do that stuff to ourselves? So right here, right now, this moment, let's just take a moment. You can close your eyes. I want you to forgive yourself for being so goddamn hard on yourself. I'm saying that to myself. As a perfectionist, if you consider yourself a perfectionist, this is why. It's a survival mechanism. It's a survival tool that you learned to prevent disappointment, shame, embarrassment. But it's an old pattern. It's an old script. I want you to close your eyes and say to yourself, I love you. I forgive you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you. I forgive you. Thank you. In this moment, I'm begging you to be more gentle with yourself. Because when you beat yourself up, you're beating up that little 9-year-old inside of you that was afraid to put its hand up. You're beating up a younger version of you that needs love. It needs a hug. It needs to be told it's okay. It's going to be okay. So let's not do that anymore. Let's not do that anymore. And let's always remember that when we're beating ourselves up and we're projecting this shame on ourselves, or we're feeling shame or regret or anything low vibration, it's just a younger version of ourselves that's trying to protect us. And just know that that script, that operating software, that operating platform, it's outdated. It's not actually who you are. But unfortunately, we're not computers that you can just wipe clean and reinstall the new operating system. I mean, how cool would it be if you could do that? But I'll tell you what, the closest thing to that is cybernetic transposition. So what is cybernetic transposition? So cybernetic means, well, cyber, you think of cyber, that's a word that's used in technology. Netic, network. Transposition. So the technique of cybernetic transposition, of creating a meta story, is you're taking emotions from an experience, a positive experience. We've all experienced gratitude. We've all experienced pleasure. We've all experienced bliss. We've all, at some point in our life, experienced good emotions. And what we're doing is we're transposing onto those emotions that we felt at some point in the past a new set of outcomes. And we're, through repetition and reinforcement, writing a new script. It's as close to installing a new operating system, an update, as you possibly can get. It is by far the quickest tool I have found to reprogram. And I've had to reprogram myself multiple times. I don't have an education. I've been working full-time since I'm 15 years old. I wasn't given anything. I'm completely self-made. And I've reinvented myself numerous times. Well, how did I do that? This is how I did it. And the only reason I'm teaching it to you guys today is because out of necessity, about 6 weeks ago, 5-6 weeks ago, I had the opportunity. Necessity is the mother of invention. My son called me and he said, "Dad, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Got 10 cents in my bank account. I don't want to be a landscaper the rest of my life. Winter is coming. What am I going to do?" And he was freaking out. He's like, "I literally just paid my rent. I have 10 cents to my name, Dad." And in that moment, I saw a younger version of myself when I was 19 years old as well. And Milo knows that I do meta stories. He knows that I do breath work every day. He knows that I do all these practices. And I said, "Milo, remember years ago, I taught you this thing called a meta story, and I had you write it out." And he's like, "Yeah." It was like I was 14 years old. I said, "Okay, give me 24 hours. I got something for you." I said, "I've got a book. I'll see if I can find the book." I couldn't find my draft of anything fast. It's in storage. And for some reason, I don't have a digital copy on my computer. So I thought to myself, we've got ChatGPT. I bought a course to teach me how to use ChatGPT so that I could reverse engineer the principles of cybernetic transposition from this 200-page manual, how to get lots of money from anything fast, into just a playbook that my son could understand and digest. So I created this for him, created it for a younger version of myself. And now I'm sharing this with the world. And this is now my calling. This is now my calling. Now, if there wasn't 29 people here and 90 people in a WhatsApp group and 35 of you that requested to be a part of a case study, I wouldn't be doing this because I'd be like, well, that's nobody's interested in this. I didn't plan this though. That's the thing. All I did is committed to becoming this year in 2024 the person I needed most in my darkest days so that I could be the best father and mentor for my son. And what is now transpired and come out of that is what I genuinely now believe to be my calling. My calling. In 2011, the Toronto Star did a series of articles in the lifestyle section on students of Carbon Copy Pro. And Judy Steed, the journalist that led that project, it was really cool. I remember it like it was yesterday. She called me. And I was in my backyard in New Jersey, and she said, the first thing she said, first of all, she's like, Jay, I'm proud, you make me proud to be a Canadian. I was just like, what? That was such a compliment. And then she said, you're like a hipster Tony Robbins. You inspire people with practical content. And I was like, ooh, cringe. I was too cool. Don't compare me to Tony Robbins. Don't get me wrong. I didn't love Tony Robbins back then because I thought I was cooler than Tony Robbins. That's why she said hipster Tony Robbins. So hip it hurts, you know. But a couple of days ago, and then I'm going to go into a screen share here with a little bit more structured teaching, and then we're going to go to the Q&A. So just want to check in with you guys. If you think you're going to want to come out, put your hand up, put it up now. And at any point you feel inspired, you feel like you've had a light bulb moment where you take a picture of the screen, maybe a picture of your computer, selfie, something, and share it. But don't just share the picture. Take a moment, jot it down, and when we're done, post it. And what was your takeaway? I mean, when we wrap up today, I'm going to go around and I'm going to ask you guys, what was your takeaway? What was the number one thing that you got from today's workshop? And the reason I'm asking for this is because this is how I'm going to gauge what it is that you guys resonate with. Because what you resonate with means you got value from it, means that I want to bring more of that. And this is how we're all going to grow together. So here I am. I just got off the phone with Steph, my former partner. And I said, Steph, like that hipster Tony Robbins, like I can see myself becoming the world's foremost goal achievement expert. Like I really can. And that's a scary, audacious, hairy, big thing to say, but if not me, then who? Why not? So out of this little group that you guys are part of, you've given me my calling. And until my last fucking breath, I will do everything in my power to help you find yours. Okay. So, whew, hot and heavy on the emotions here today. I gotta take my shirt off. Okay, so remember last week? Oh, Milo just texted me. He's so mad. Make sure you follow him on Instagram as well and compliment him. He had a truckload of 7 cubic yards, which is 7 tons of topsoil delivered to a job this morning. And he called me this morning. He's like, Dad, can you help me come and wheelbarrow all of this soil to this backyard that he's reading? And I was like, Milo, I can't. By the time I get there, I've got this webinar. I've got 35 people that requested to be part of a case study. I'm trying to build out the platforms and I support all these amazing people. Like I literally can't. I can come tomorrow. Who is not happy with me? He's like, I thought we're partners. He just texted me at 3:33. He's been going for 6.5 hours. Well done, Milo. Like, show him some love. Go follow him. Follow the Clean Co. Okay, so remember last week, I showed you guys the Ikigai Venn diagram, the 4 circles. What you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. And it's a Venn diagram where you lay these 4 circles on top of each other and it can tell you what your profession, your vocation, your calling, etc. Your Ikigai is kind of like your raison d'etre, your purpose, your reason for being. And then I told you that I had kind of reworked it. Instead of using 4 circles, using the Fibonacci, which represents the natural law of order in the universe, and levels of consciousness. So I'm going to show you now the next iteration of that I'm creating, because for those of you that have requested one-to-one coaching, Carol, congratulations, she's the first one. One of the, and Garrett is on the list as well. Keo, you're on the list as well, because you're also a client, a private client. I'm going to work with you guys first. You're going to create your own version of this. And I'm so excited to show it to you, because just like with what I did, pat on the shoulder. But I'm really proud of myself, what I did with 3T. I'm doing with the Ikigai concept. And it's powerful stuff, because it makes so much more sense than just creating a Venn diagram that has 4 circles. There's nothing in life is just that easily compartmentalized into 4 circles. Okay, so let's just zoom out a tiny bit here. So you remember this from last week. So this is my life. Now the vision, and I'm still working on it. My vision is for every single one of you to have your own version of this. And the collage will include pictures of you currently. I went and did a branded photo shoot. So the pictures of me with the white, the pink scarf. I did a photo shoot where I was embodying my future identity as a father, as a coach, as a teacher, as an athlete, and as a farmer as well. And then also in there, like I said last week, there are pictures of me from previous times in my life. And this is me. This is who I am, and everything is here. So I'm doing this for myself to better understand myself, but ultimately this will become the foundation for a curriculum and what I genuinely intend to be the world's most powerful self-discovery and personal development program on the planet. So we talked about the Fibonacci last week. For those of you that don't remember what that was, that's the sequence, that's formula 1.618033, manifests in the numbers of 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. Here's one of the things I've discovered. I had a conversation with Pat yesterday. This is what I was talking about. There will be things that you experienced as a 3-year-old that have repeated themselves as a pattern every 3 years in your life, give or take, since then. There will be, and I'm talking about things that are heavily weighted with emotion. So things that were traumatic, that were difficult, that were hard, whether it was shame, fear, guilt. There will be experiences and emotions that you experienced as a 5-year-old that could be repeated every 5 years. As an 8-year-old, repeated every 8 years. As a 13-year-old, repeated every 13 years. 21-year-old, repeated every 21 years, so on and so forth. And I've identified in my own life that my patterns with boom and bust in business, and also with my personal relationships. There were 3-year, 5-year, 8-year, and 13-year patterns. There's also a 21-year pattern. The first 21 years of my life, I was a farmer, and 21 years as an entrepreneur. And these are like chapters, right? So the Fibonacci is really cool because it helps us understand ourselves. And really, we are all stardust. Galaxies are grouped together in superclusters, the same mathematical formula. Okay. So talked about how cancer cells, like that, there's the Fibonacci as well. And you can see how the cells are dividing. And this is the reason I'm reiterating this again, is because what I'm teaching you is so powerful. It is so powerful, but you can also hurt yourself. You can use this to hurt others. And under no circumstance do I want that to be the case. This is beautiful in nature, mathematics, and science. This shows up everywhere. So this is the original Ikigai that I shared with you guys. Okay, and I this was kind of one of my blueprints for 10 plus years. I'm not going to go into this to your change model. But I just want you to make a mental note here, just to recall the uncut diamond in the bottom, the times of chaos. You can call them trapped emotions. You can call it trauma. I'll tell you what, you go through a growth mindset, you grow out of that green area there. That's the integration phase. When you create new scripts with new meta stories, and you create a new status quo, suddenly you don't have this dull rock bag of gravel that you're carrying around. You've got these beautiful diamonds that are gifts to the world that are of incredible value. This is all about increasing your value to society so that you can be a blessing, so that you can help solve problems, so that you can be of more service. So this is the reimagined Ikigai using the Fibonacci. Now, these dots, what they represent are levels of consciousness. The highest, the biggest dot, let's say would be, for example, 600, which is peace. Peace is a very, very high level of consciousness. Anything above 700 as human beings, we can't really experience, can't really quantify it. That is pure awareness. At 600, we know what peace feels like. Next biggest dot, the second biggest is 540. That's joy. Joy includes gratitude. And gratitude is 540. The next one is 500, which is love. We all know what love feels like. We've all felt love. Imagine, in this particular case, that spiral, it's that leg is what I'm good at. Imagine having such peace doing what you're doing. Imagine loving what you're doing. Imagine what you do for a living, in embodying that high vibration. You follow that spiral all the way down to the middle and then spiral it back out. If you look at the bottom, what I can be paid for are directly correlated. Okay, so see the blue? Zoom all the way in. The same thing. In other words, it's not hard to make money doing something that you love. You don't want to compete with somebody who loves what they're doing. You don't stand a chance. If you're doing something out of courage or obligation or a lower vibration out of duty, duty is noble, sure. But you're never going to be able to compete with somebody who loves what they're doing. You just won't. So same thing for you, for me. Is it possible that all areas of love you can raise to this level? And to me, I call it your calling or my calling. Got these tattoos, the XYZ. The XYZ, I have my own methodology. I'm going to go into this next week. Your X is your purpose. Your Y is your mission or your why. And your Z is your calling or your destiny, or your destiny, which becomes your legacy. But in order for this XYZ conversation to make any sense, you have to start with the baseline of radical personal responsibility. And the number one thing on that list is to become the person you needed most in your darkest days. You're going to hear me repeat this until the cows come home, until I'm blue in the face, until my last breath. But when you take radical personal responsibility, you are basically saying, I am no longer a victim. Not what happened to me, not even what happened for me. It's all mine. It's mine. All these buckets of unorganized Lego, mine. And I get to build with them. Yes, I have to sort through them, but they're still mine. This mountain of gravel that I've been carrying around in my backpack, mine. I'm going to take responsibility for it because it's mine. Then you get to dig through it. Sort. What are the stones? What are the uncut diamonds? You see, when you take radical personal responsibility, you are back in control. The number one. You can't update an operating system on a computer that you don't own. You have to own it first. So ownership is the baseline. It is the number one prerequisite. Okay, so here I've just superimposed the numbers on top of it. So now this is my life. What do I love? What gives me the most peace, what I love is transformation, which is more than growth. That's my 600. What I love. Now that blue line, circle it all the way down to the middle and then bring it back out. Well, you know what? If I'm living in a place of love for my own transformation, guess what? That gives me the ability to help others do the same. So what does the world need? The world needs transformation. Now let's look at the purple lines. What am I good at? I'm good at human development. Why? Because I've had to develop myself and reinvent myself so many freaking times. I've gotten good at it. And what can I be paid for? Helping people cultivate brands, cultivating people. And I use the word cultivating. My good friend, bless his heart, John Jackson, JJ, said, you cultivate people. And he gave me a plaque. You want to eat for a year, grow grain. You want to eat for a decade, grow trees. You want to eat for a lifetime, grow people. Cultivating people, cultivating brands. That's what I get paid to do. You see that big dot on all of these legs. We can't. It will never be. The limiting factor is what you love. So if you're operating from a place, so now I'm going to here. If I'm operating from 300, which is willingness, and I would say for many years I've been teaching this stuff. My previous businesses and brands, you guys were involved with those. Did I genuinely love? There were parts about my life and business that I didn't love, that I didn't accept. And those of you that have followed me and worked with me for a long time, you can probably tell I'm at a whole different level of vibration. I would say most of the last 20 years, I operated in that 200 to 300 vibration. And that doesn't mean that you can't be successful at that level, but you're limited. The other three spokes on the wheel are limited to that level. You can't reach people and you can't solve people. You can't reach people and make an impact and become good at something that you're just willing to do. And this is why it is so important to do the inner work first and find that self-love and self-acceptance and become that person that you needed most, is so that you can unleash this gift to the world. And suddenly, what you're good at, you're automatically better at doing the things that you love. You're automatically going to be able to solve bigger problems out there in the world. And you'll automatically make more money. They're all tied together. Money is just a byproduct. Money is a byproduct. Passion is a byproduct. When you operate from a place of peace and love, and I'm not talking about some fake, shallow, kumbaya, I love everybody. I'm not talking about that at all. Remember, we talked about radical responsibility. I'm talking about genuine, unconditional love, starting with yourself. You will be unstoppable. So if you can raise your vibration by doing your daily gratitude practice, by doing your meta stories, you can have 100% clarity, 100% belief, 100% of the time. So that what you love, that leg in excuse me, courage is 200, 100 is fear. So kind of self-analyze, like where are you operating from right now? And imagine where you will be a year from now if starting today, this week, this month, instead of operating from a place of 200 to 300, it'd be 400, 500, 540, 600. It's just a matter of time before the other three legs on this spiral grow. It's mathematically predictable. I've been searching for 20 years to create a visual diagram, a way to create a visual diagram that explains how we make money, how we solve problems on the world, how we can ultimately become the best version of ourselves in alignment with the laws of the universe. And I'm not saying this is perfect, but it's a quantum leap from the old Ikigai Venn diagram. So that said, just one last time here, the levels of consciousness, just so that you have a visual. You don't already have the book. We're all born as pure love, birth, and then life happens to us. We come out of that birth canal, bloody, covered in mucus, and then life happens to us. We get older, we go through puberty, we become an adult. All of these life experiences stack onto each other. And it's like adding software to an old computer. What you have the opportunity to do is to take a completely different and fresh approach to transformation, to transforming yourself. And the reason you're going to transform yourself into the highest possible version you possibly can in this lifetime is because that is your calling. Your purpose is to find your purpose. My purpose is to find my purpose. My purpose is to become the person I needed most in my darkest day. That is my X. That's my X factor. The why factor is the mission. Why do I want to become the best version of myself? So that I can be the best father and mentor for my life. And then the ability to teach this to you guys and to build a business around it is just a bonus. That's a cream on the top. You see? Well, how freaking cool would it be to have hundreds of case studies a year from now, to be part of a community, to be part of a movement where you guys are teaching this? Well, you're not only mastered this for your own life, but you have your God-given talents and abilities that you were born with. You can now actually bring them to society, and you can be paid for it, paid for doing that you're passionate about. This is the natural order of things. To me, this is the difference between building a business and building a proper brand. A proper brand has heart, has soul, has meaning, and it has a reason, a raison d'etre, a reason for existing. So, thank you so much. Wow, that took me a little bit more than 30 minutes, but we did get off to a little bit of a later start. So I'd like to know, how are you guys, how is this landing with you? Type it into the chat. I need to take a sip of water and give me a 30-second break. I want you to type into the chat, what is the number one takeaway so far here from today? And I promise you, I read through all of these. So I'll be back. I'm going to give you guys 30 to 60 seconds. What is the number one takeaway today? And if you haven't already taken your picture of the screen, go ahead and do that now, and do that as soon as I come back. And that number one takeaway, you're going to share that with the world. You're going to share that with the world. So I will be right back. Thank you so much. Just give me 30 to 60 seconds. I got to blow my nose if you can't tell. And then take a sip of water, and I'll be right back with you guys.
I was going to say podcasts, maybe.
Yeah, what's that? Can any of you hear me?
Yes.
All of a sudden. Ah, excellent. I know. I'm hoping you can't see me because it's the wee small hours here and I'm in bed.
Okay. Yeah. Can hear you.
I can hear you, and as far as seeing you, well, I can't see nothing normally, so if I
Show us your face. In bed. That was a good talk.
Beautiful. All right, I am back. Thank you so much. Sandra says it's not hard to do something you love. Biologically, we're wired that way, so that we do more of the things that we love. I'm here to be my best self, so others can do the same. Pat, I love it. Bruno, I love the list of my calling you shared. Something to work on. Naomi, forgiving myself. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. That's a Hawaiian saying. I think it's called like hopo ono or something like that. I'm sure I got it wrong, but it's a Hawaiian. And Garrett says you drive in Mission J in the diagram and its components. Beautiful. Okay, so Pat, you are first.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. What am I sharing? My questions? Do I have what's the share about?
Question, comment, observation, meta story.
Oh, okay, yeah. My question really is, what if we say we really want to help people, we want to empower people? Like that's what we say, that's what I say. But my actions don't say that at all. So what if I'm just saying that just because I think it's the thing to do, but really what I really want is just to be better than I am now, just for myself, and not think about empowering other people.
Okay.
That's my question.
Can I answer as your coach? Not in
Yeah,
the most
please.
loving but firm way. Don't say stuff
Please.
you don't mean. It's inauthentic.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah. And that's fake. And people see right through it. The whole world is full of people doing this. You can't possibly care about someone else until you've taken care of yourself. It's the whole put your own oxygen mask on first. And this is why my purpose, believe it or not, my ex, this is different than like a Simon Sinek start with why, for example. But my purpose in life is to become the person I needed most in my darkest days. It is self-serving. So that, which is the why. So there is no why if X isn't true. So if I don't become the best possible version of myself, I can't help anybody. And you know what? The most inspiring thing you can do, Pat, is to become the best version of yourself. Because people are going to be inspired by that. They're going to see that and say, wow. I mean, how many people do you know that are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s go through a complete transformation and reinvention? For the most part, if I have an employee or a friend or a neighbor who has wronged me for something and then they apologize, it's like that saying, lie to me once, shame on you. Lie to me twice, shame on me. People don't change as a rule of thumb. They just don't. Our identities are set by our mid-20s, our early 20s, and that's it. The vast majority of society lives out that identity until the day they die. You're the anomaly. because you're committed to being the best version of yourself, not allowing your past to become your prologue anymore. So don't say that anymore. And instead say, my mission is to become the best possible version of myself. And you know what that does is that makes you more attractive to them as their insurance agent. It's their insurance broker, because it's like, wow, she's committed to becoming a high performance human being as a professional. I want to work with her versus I want to help with it. No, you will know when you're ready to start helping others. So this is why you have to work on that first leg of the wheel, which is yourself and what you love first. Great question. Thank you so much.
And-
Anything else?
No, thank you. I think there's a great relief for me personally that really I'm here just to be the best version of me that I needed when I was a kid. You know, and I was left out in the hallway and not allowed to come inside my home, my apartment. And I was, you know, that devastated me as a kid. And I need to heal that. I want to heal that. And
You are
now
healing that.
I'm healing that. And now as an adult, you know, I've realized today also being on this class that I'm just interested in being the best version of myself and just to have fun just for me.
Thank
And
you.
from all
Thank you.
and from me doing that, then other things will fall into their proper place.
Yes. As you grow, it's like go back to the way it works in nature. That little sapling can't possibly bear fruit until it's a thick enough stump and thick enough branches and big enough leaves to be able to take in enough. That first 10 years of a little orange tree, it's self-serving, it's not bearing any fruit. But that growth is necessary so that it can support the weight of that fruit, right? There's nothing wrong with putting all of you, and this is contrary to what a lot of people will say. This is just what I believe. So you take care of that little girl, Pat, that was left out in that fucking hallway. You take care of her. You look out for her. You defend her. You nurture her. You hug her. You love her. You protect her. And watch what happens.
Right on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, Bruno, let's go to you.
For me, your list of, as I wrote, with the responsibilities is something I have to work on. There's still things I have to improve. And
You want to give me? So go ahead.
Yeah, that's and I do also like Patricia. I do the things for myself. I'm actually at the moment not in any business. Also, I'm in early retirement, so I can do more or less what I want to do, and it's more about myself, to improve myself, to improve even more my fitness, my health, and all these things. And yes.
Can I respond to that as a coach? With all the love in my heart, you don't have to do anything. You're already semi-retired. You already are living the life that everybody else dreams of. Being able to hike in the Swiss Alps twice a week. You don't have to do anything.
Yes.
You don't have to do anything. The word have to is obligation. That's low vibration. Obligation is way lower than willingness. Obligation is 200. That's like, no. What I would encourage you, Bruno, to do is what I just said to Pat. Be curious about what part of yourself you're still not fully in love with and accepting, and develop yourself, because I hate to break it to you, you got a lot of years left.
Yes.
We're all going to live over 100 with science where it's going now. Yeah. So what are you going to do with the rest of your life, if not what you love? So there's no have to. You have the
Yeah.
opportunity.
It
You
is.
have the opportunity to.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
So what are you going to do with your life?
Enjoy it as much as possible. I do always more the things I really love doing. And one thing I really love doing is in principle learning. I love learning. I can't believe that I would say that when I was 20 years old, but in the last 2-3 years, I really realized the one of most important thing for me is always to learn new things.
Lifelong student. So
Yes.
the Ikigai diagram, is what you're saying reminds me of when you're doing what you love. See if I can get this right. And you're doing what you're good at, but you're not paid to do it, and it doesn't serve the world. It's going to leave you feeling empty. And I think what you're looking for is a sense of purpose and meaning and fulfillment. So what I would encourage you to do is to continue to invest in yourself and learn, so that, and then think, who is behind you? Is it children? Is it grandchildren? Is it former clients? Is there a book waiting to be written? Is there something to do with outdoors, with the environment, with nature? If you're missing meaning and purpose, it's simply because there's a craving inside of you to be of value to others. And I've known you long enough to know that you have a big heart. Yeah. So here's my words of advice to you would be is, who can you serve? What problem out there in the world can you solve that is aligned with what you're passionate about? What can you get involved with that will give you a sense of meaning and purpose? And I promise you, it has something to do with nature. It has to. You've hiked more in a week than I hike in a year. I'm so jealous. Okay. But at some point, those hikes probably get boring. And it's like, well, you can only take so much raw natural beauty of the Swiss Alps in without, and there'll be this feeling of like, I want to share this. I mean, your pictures are beautiful. I mean, like I could spout off a whole bunch of things that I could see you doing. Books, social media, promoting awareness, environmental, tourism. So think of that, and then that will give you even a deeper reason to continue to learn and grow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last call. Put your hand up if you have a question, comment. In the meantime, I'm going to go through the comments here. Richard says, when you find your purpose, the energy comes to make it your mission. It does. When you find your purpose, the energy comes to make it your mission. We call that passion. Passion is a byproduct. And then money is a lagging indicator. It means it usually comes after you've done something that you're passionate about long enough. You got really good at it. The money is going to be there as a byproduct as well. My takeaway is that I always knew about inner child work and how, if not healed, it will cause emotional problems as an adult. However, I didn't realize about life memories. Yeah, Jules, yeah, so true. Sorry, it's be the person you need the most in your darkest hours. Yeah. I get choked up when I say that just because it's just so real for me. Monarch says the biggest takeaway is the energy of everyone on a journey here to learn how to give to the world in the best possible way by overcoming limiting beliefs and taking radical responsibility. Be the person you needed most in your darkest days. Sandra says taking radical personal responsibility is another one I'm taking with me. Such an important one, ownership. And Garrett says, I have to leave now. Thank you very much, Jay. And thank you, everyone. Beautiful. Okay, let's go to Carol. Carol, are you there? Oh, there you are. Carol, I see your hand up and I can hear something because you're unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but you can't.
Oh, lost you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Yeah, I wrote a couple of comments in the Q&A. Can you see them?
Oh, silly me. There's Q&A and there's chat. There's two different things.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's go. Here, I see another insight. Ownership is necessary before we upgrade. Yeah, I see that. And also, when you mentioned old script, it gave me a lot of awareness that I can go onto a new one. They are now separate in my mind, so I have the power to go and operate from the new one. Not blurry anymore. There is definition between the old and the new. Bravo.
Yeah,
Clarity. That is
it's
so,
very
that is
clear.
so powerful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so it's easier now for me to realize when I operate from the old one. Basically, the old one is the one that doesn't feel good, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just going to keep running there, just like a virus on a computer.
Mm-mm.
Unless you do something about it.
Yeah.
See, this approach to personal development, to me, because I have so much religious trauma, having dogmatic fear and shame-based religion stuck down my throat like a poor little French goose that they're trying to make foie gras from, it's like I'm so resistant to so many of the spiritual development and or personal development and spiritual modalities out there, which don't give you clear tools to separate the old from the new. And I get really triggered when I feel ashamed, because shame is so much shame from the first 3 decades of my life. Thank you so much, Carol. Is there anything else? Harder one.
Nothing I can think of. No, just this was a big insight for me.
Beautiful. Carol, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to working with you one-on-one as well.
Me too.
It's going to be amazing. Bye. Thank you so much. Okay, James, you're up next. James, how are you, brother?
Okay. Yeah, I was explaining a little earlier. I'm actually a therapist, and one of the things I teach people is to parent the child. If they could stand back from themselves and look at that child and parent the child where they needed it, because the parent wasn't there. And this comes from dealing with kids that have gone through all sorts of trauma and difficulties, and of course they've grown to adults, and and they can't make sense of who and what they are, and of course they end up in crime and all sorts of terrible things. But bringing about a couple of things, personally taking responsibility, as you said, Jay, that's brilliant. I love your Fibonacci. I'm going to use that in my therapy because it explains things. It uses things so clearly that it's a beautiful picture that haven't seen that one before. But yeah, parenting the child within is one of those things that is really it's crucial to helping us to move forward. Now, like you, I've reinvented myself a few times. I've been teaching, I've been a therapist for the last 5 years. I'm now 70 and I'm still working. I've got no intention of stopping because, once we master this stuff, and I'm still a student, I'll continue to be a student till I my last breath. There is so much to learn about ourselves. Once we get to that place you're talking about, the self-talk stops. And one of the things I had to pull myself up on was I was teaching a course in shame, and suddenly realized people have got all this dialogue going on all the time. And I said to one of the other team members, I said, I don't have that. I don't have that. And she said to me, you can't say that. You can't, you're making people feel bad if you say that in therapy, man. You know, you can't do that. And I suddenly realized, you know, I've probably reached a pretty good place. But to be fair, I did psychology of winning when I was about 27 or 8 with Dennis Waitley, and then I moved on to Tony Robbins' Personal Power 2. Like you, I've come through an organisation. You know, I'm a spirit-filled Christian, and I'm still doing what I do. And I found that I could, without all this stuff that people want to shove down your throat about putting rules and things on you, I discovered just by, well, we had a pastor who was a salesman, and he was teaching all of this stuff from Dennis Waitley out of the Bible. And it wasn't until I realized that those two things actually agreed, and it took me some time to realize they agreed, that I was able to do something with it, because there was two big fluffy clouds. One was whatever everyone was trying to shove at me from the Bible, and it was really their interpretation. And the other one was the man of science, who I thought, well, he's just a bloke. He can't be, you know. But once I realized the two agreed, I could start doing things. I put a 10-year plan into action, and it came to fruition in 7, not because I'm a genius, but because I had a plan and I took the opportunities as they came along. But still very naive, still fell on my face a number of times. Haven't made $1 million. Have been part of SFM, and I've got my wake up sticker sitting on the side of my computer. So I guess what I'm saying, Jay, is, yeah, parenting that child within is a big step forward, and being kind to yourself. When we've got that dialogue going on, treat yourself with the same respect that you treat the most reverent person in your life, if you like. And I don't mean that in a holy way. I mean that person that you value most. You know, like how many of us, Jay, would speak to you the way we speak to ourselves? We're going to be respectful. You've got the runs on the board. You know, we're going to say, well, you know, we need to speak to ourselves with that same level of respect, because deep down we deserve that. We can't move forward without that. Anyway, with that, I'm going to
so
shut
true,
up.
James. Thank you so much, James. I love that parenting. That's something that I only heard a few years ago myself from a therapist as well. Reparenting is the whole thing. 5 or 6 years ago, I was watching a Jordan Peterson lecture on YouTube, one of his old University of Toronto lectures, and he talked about, and he writes about this in 12 Rules for Life as well. Take care of yourself like you're responsible, as if you're responsible. How does he frame it? Put it in the chat if somebody knows this. It's something along the lines, you know, treat yourself like someone you're responsible to take care of, for taking care of.
Absolutely.
Along the same lines, you know. And I think the reason we talk so rudely to ourselves is because when those old scripts are going, it's kind of like a parrot on the shoulder, and sometimes it's like, enough already, enough. Yet we're talking to ourselves. And so I think the first step here is to bring awareness that those feelings and emotions, those limiting beliefs and those doubts, they're real. Those feelings, they're yours, they're real. So don't discount them, but they're not who you actually are. And
that's right.
They're scripts on an old computer. So don't yell at the old computer for running old software. Love it. It needs an update. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, James, for coming out. Great. Sandra, let's go to you next, and then Jeremy, we'll go to you. I went back through and invited you all back to the panelists again. So we're learning this new webinar thing here. So Sandra, how are you today? How can I help you?
Good, thanks. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I already wrote a few things in the chat, but I just wanted to thank you for that Fibonacci sequence. I got so excited when you showed that in the chat the first time. Like honestly, that has been like one of my like something that I have just researched over my period of my life, because that's how I got into architecture. Because I get so excited about how this is in nature and in music and like all over the place, and how this like throughout history and obviously in buildings a lot, they have incorporated it and they've studied it, and yeah, I just get so excited about that sequence, because it's so smart and nature is perfect. And so like
Yeah.
we as humans, we've tried to imitate nature and get close to that perfection, which obviously is a tough one. But so anyway,
Sandra, can I add to that? So there's a little video in my Prezi there that I haven't played yet. When I share this with you. So the guy in that little video, he explains it. There's no magic to the Fibonacci. It's just the most efficient order. 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. It's the most efficient in nature. That's why it is. It's the most efficient. So there's nothing magical about it. I mean, that's something that I probably could have better framed in the very beginning. The Fibonacci, what you're observing just happens to be the most efficient way for it to be constructed, whether it's in architecture, whether it's the way a sunflower plant seeds are, whether it's a cell at a microbial level. It's just the most efficient way. So then it's like, if it's the most efficient way in nature, let's go with nature. Let's swim with the stream instead of swimming against the stream. You know what I mean? So that's what I love about it. It's like, it's the most efficient.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because the architects, when they studied it, they tried to, how can I reduce complexity and go to the most simple structure that is there, like the triangle or the circle or whatever, that's as well the most stable. And then make something complex out of it, but reduce the complexity first and then build on top of that. So yeah, that's just really cool. And then I also had a revelation actually with the whole parenting the child and thinking about my childhood. And I've thought about my childhood, which wasn't bad, but there were sections that I kind of just kind of blacked out. I didn't remember it anymore because that's how I dealt with it. And I never connected it until now. My behavior, must relate to that earlier years. So anyway, thank you for that.
Beautiful. Yeah, I now have absolute like laser memory all the way back to the age of 2.5, because I became obsessed with trying to understand myself and what happened to me. But there were vast chunks of my life that was like that. So that's normal. In due time, you'll uncover that, and we'll talk more about it on future webinars as well. And I'll be also, that lifeline coaching process with that worksheet that I shared. It's super cool. I'm so super excited to share that with you guys. So thank you so much, Sandra, and really happy to have you here.
Thanks.
Beautiful. All right, let's go to Jeremy and Polly. How are you guys?
We're good. How are you, Jay?
Best day of my life.
So my insight was, I shared something else in the WhatsApp group, but I already shared that, so I'll share something else. My insight was around what were they called? The like different vibrational levels.
Levels of consciousness, the David Hawkins. Yeah.
Levels of consciousness. So I've definitely seen that shift, that I was operating from a really low vibrational level before of a lot of anger and resentment and have tos. And with the meta stories, definitely seeing that shift into more of a love, like a giving freely. Our baby's sick, so sorry about the
Oh,
sneezing.
but
But just seeing that really way more in flow with wanting to share and being open and being excited again about my business.
go onto my Instagram. I posted a bunch of stories because I was so inspired about today's webinar that today I did a post about like you can shift your state into that 500 level just by doing the 100 gratitude list. So I sat down and I ordered my lunch at Impact Kitchen, and I frantically wrote out as many things as I could before my food came until my papers filled up, and I got to 47. And it just put me over the edge because I had anxiety creeping in. I always get anxiety before these webinars, which is just old programming. I've done so many of them, and a lot of times I didn't want to do them and I wasn't feeling them, and I did it, force myself anyway. So what you're doing here, Polly, is you're shifting your state. You're in control now. You're shifting your state. And that is now, you're now operating at a different level. There's the old software is being replaced with new, and there will be a spillover effect on this to every area of your life, including your business. God doesn't give you new stuff until you're grateful for what you have, even if you have nothing. That is the hard lesson. So by simply putting yourself into that state of gratitude, even if your life is shit, you then opening yourself up to receive. And opportunities, when they come, you will be able to take advantage of them because you'll be in the state of mind, the frame of mind, and have the energy, the motivational energy, the inspiration, the physical energy, all of that stuff. You'll sleep better. There's this whole knock-on effect to raising your vibration. So you're starting to experience that. I'm really excited for you. Beautiful. Okay, Zoran, let's go to you. Zoran, and then Izza, and we'll wrap with Izza. Zoran, how are you, brother?
Good. How are you? Good. When you mentioned Jay, one biggest takeaway from tonight, the old identity, that person that don't speak out, basically, that is always from the side, you know. Man, that touched me. That touched me because it was so difficult for me to open up, to speak out for many years, and I still work on it. You know, I still work on it, and that really resonated. That really resonated, you know, with some old identity and shift to the person you want to become. You know. Yeah. So just wanted to mention that, you know, that was one nice moment, you know, tonight.
Good. Thank you. And thank you for sharing that, because now your new identity is no longer afraid to share. And in your meta stories, you can include, because being afraid to speak, that's this chakra right here. We can, but it's very difficult to make an impact in the world without a voice. Yet so many of us are trapped. Like my voice has literally gotten lower and deeper and sexier as I've cleared out my self-expression trauma. Our voice will literally changes. So Zoran, well done. And if and when we do the Lifeline coaching, if you've never done that, we'll be able to go back and you'll be able to pinpoint exactly where that old identity comes from. And there's value in being able to pinpoint it so that you can compartmentalize it, you can bracket it, and you can chuck it. But then what you will find is that the flip side of that coin, your deepest fear, biggest insecurity, the flip side of that coin, now you have empathy, not just for yourself, but for others. You can help others now unlock their voice because you've unlocked your own. See how it works? It's fucking beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there are many things I can share. many things I can share and help others, you know, because
Yeah.
okay, I don't wanna now, you know, do some how to say to sound to I can't find the word, you know, but I have many tough things, you know, in life, you know. Many tough things in life, and majority of people, well, maybe they saw it in the movie, you know, but never experienced.
Imagine.
Yeah, and
Yeah. You have a
without
big calling. You have a big calling, my friend.
without exaggeration, you know, I'm not now talking some BS things, you know. But that I think I could use in the future, you know, with the people who are, how to say, who are struggling, who are going through their life difficulties, not to give up, you know, not to give up, because when I share my experience and what I was going through and how I overcame these difficulties, they
Are
will
you
also
Czech?
they will also feel better, you know, they can do it, you know.
Yeah, no, I understand. Are you Czech by any chance? From
No, I was born in Serbia.
Serbia? Yeah. Okay. So former Yugoslavia. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
tell. I mean,
But
one of my
yeah,
good one of my good friends here in Vancouver. He's a doctor, and he lived through that war, and he said he has visions of a kid. He has nightmares of like a Tomahawk cruise missile coming down their street. What he witnessed,
I
and he
don't need
still
to. I don't need to tell you now. Now you're pulling my tongue, you know, to start talking some things, you know. Maybe it's not for tonight, you know, but I can talk many things, you know.
you have a gift and a calling. The more you work on yourself, the more people you can help. So you just have to decide, are you going to answer that call? Because that's God calling you.
Okay, thanks, brother.
Thank you, brother, for being here. I
Thanks.
love you, man. I appreciate you. Let's go to Iza and we'll wrap up with that. Iza still here? Might have left. Okay, so with that, I will leave you guys with this. Become the person you needed most. And, oh, Pat, something? Oh, you're still muted.
Okay. Could you tell us the book that you recommended in the very beginning?
David, yes, David Hawkins.
David Hawkins, the scientist.
Yeah, I believe it's Levels of Consciousness. It has
Right.
a orangish triangular. Yes, there we go. The map of consciousness. There you go.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, everyone. I love you all so much. I'll leave you with this. Become the person you needed most in your darkest days. Share that gift with the world. It's your job to inspire others, because they might be where you were. And what better thing can we do than to be a blessing and a light in this world? I love you all so much. See you guys same place, same time next week. I'll see you guys in the group. Cheers. Bye.